Hey, I'm Andrew Ballant, and I head up the marketing team for Afterpay in Australia and New Zealand. COVID-19 has seen a whole bunch of changes and challenges come about that have impacted both our work and our personal life. When thinking about pitching for new business, agencies now really need to mix things up for maximum impact. First up, agencies need to work much harder to gain and maintain attention during a pitch, as marketing teams are spending the majority of their days on seemingly endless Zoom meetings. Why not start off the pitch with a joke or funny story? There needs to be some sort of clever, memorable, highly engaging icebreaker that immediately gets everyone's attention. Establishing chemistry or rapport is a tough thing to do over Zoom. So now more than ever, you need to find effective ways to take your prospective client on the pitch journey, as you're not meeting face to face. Engage early, keep them updated. Hey, why not send them a pre-packaged gin and tonic and meet via Zoom to take them through your thinking? Don't overwhelm with detail and hundreds of words on a slide. Sell me your ideas with energy and enthusiasm. Level up and bring your A team every time to the pitch, even if they're junior. Just don't bring the most senior team as a default. Make sure technology is humming. Now more than ever with Zoom, check that the slides are shareable. Importantly, that audio for video works, etc., as IT glitches just make things awkward for everyone. Put your best foot forward and choose case studies that are relevant and not necessarily the biggest clients you've worked on. Everyone's worked with Telstra. Hub test that the strategy you're presenting aligns with your execution. Sometimes when you're too close to it, you can't see if there's a misalignment. In terms of an ideal length, I think pitches shouldn't be more than an hour for the presentation itself, and then allow about 30 minutes for questions. That should be plenty of time. And finally, clearly articulate where your agency can take the brand to meet their vision, because that is what sells most. After getting that chemistry thing right, of course. Now, the most memorable pitch for me was memorable as much for what happened when I informed the agency of the outcome of the pitch process as for the pitch itself. I was working for a Mason and Special Group was doing the pitching. Now, the creative idea using the HOF was amazing, funny, and went on to become a hugely successful campaign. However, when I told Lindsay and Cade that they were successful, Lindsay broke out with screams of joy while doing a spontaneous dance. It was loud enough to draw our chairman out of a board meeting to see what all the fuss was about. That was exactly why Special Group was chosen. Sheer passion, raw and real.
We kicked off building a brand campaign. Our biggest brand campaign in history, significant investment in both time, money and resources, and we kicked it off in March. So I met with the advertising agencies, the 5 selected for the pitch process, back in March. And it was literally the day we went into lockdown. So it was mid-March, it was about March 18. It was the first of the elbow pumps. It was people doing things that was very, very, very foreign to them at the time. No one had elbow pumped before. And we were shaking hands and hugging it out. But all of a sudden we were operating in this new world. So I had 5 chemistry sessions, 3 of them in Melbourne, 2 of them in Sydney. The 2 in Sydney had to be done over video calls. The 3 in Melbourne, they were very, let's call it tense, because we were operating under a very new regime. We didn't really know how to operate. So the chemistry wasn't really built. And that was the first strange part of this whole process. Meeting people that you had to form long-term relationships with and make decisions with, it didn't happen the way it normally would. So we went through that process from early March. We went through the strategy process, we went through the briefing process, and then we went through the whole creative process. And I really could see the agencies were grappling with how they bring this thing to life. It was very hard to get, I think, when you're just using virtual whiteboards. But somehow these agencies really made it work. Difficult circumstances, they brought this strategy to life, the campaign to life. And I went from 5 to 4 to a couple of great ideas, and in the end awarded the campaign to AJF Growth Ops. So a great agency out of Melbourne. The idea that they came up with, I could not resist. From the very first moment I saw it, I knew this was the one. And I struggled to get it out of my mind. In every other pitch, I just had this idea in the back of my mind, the first thing they showed me just stuck. So this is the Everyday Aussies campaign, where we have elevated everyday Australians to these celebrity superstar figures. A few examples, Justin's Timberlake, Camilla's Pass the Bowls, Kim's car dash cam, Elon's mask. There's an endless list. I mean, it just keeps going on. It's actually haunted my life for a long time now, because every time I see someone, I have to think of a product for their name. And it's constantly torturous. So they won the pitch. Now, what we did though was Cummins and Partners, Sean Cummins and his team there with Chris, came up with the line, check out catch. A line that I absolutely love because it bookends the story. So check out Chris, check out his shoes. Before you check out anywhere else, check out catch. So I really wanted to have this name. And the tussle was, he was an agency that didn't win the overall pitch, didn't win the overall creative idea. How do I get that name to work with the Everyday Aussies campaign from HAF Growth Ops? So it may have been a little bit unorthodox, but I approached Cummins and I said, look, can you give us the name? Of course they can't just give us the name. We had to come to an arrangement. We came to an agreement where they were willing, and they could see how this would bring the campaign to life overall. They were willing to cooperate and be part of that. And it's just a really nice, let's call it a collab between a couple of agencies, and they've managed to make it really work really, really well.
When it comes to a pitch, the company basically wants you to know everything about them. They want you to tell their future, they want you to respond to their brief, they want you to tell their history, they want you to understand everything about them. So going into pitch can be a very pressure-filled time, but we think we've come up with a couple of good tips that maybe will help you based on what we've seen and what we've experienced over our time at Lego. So the first one from me, I guess, I would say is research, 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 and then when you're done, research some more. In today's day and age of big data and insights, I mean, it's pretty much a given that you need to get online and learn as much as you can about the company, the brand, and very much the target audience you're speaking to. Speak about insights and the understanding of the brand and the audience to the company, not just rehashing information.
Number 2 for me is be real, be transparent, and overall just be yourself. What we want to see is passion, some of the ideas that you're really excited about and what you want to do with us as a brand. If you've got a big idea, don't get too caught up on that and not also bring back the KPIs and the brief to what we've presented to you as well. It's really important that you're nailing the things that we want to see within that pitch. Don't go over budget. If there's something which is weird and wonderful and requires more money, then present that as something out of scope. Don't just sort of run away with it and expect that we have more in our wallet than we actually do. And to cap off this one as well, just make sure that when you're being transparent, that you're true to yourself as well. You're open with your communication. If there's something which isn't possible, tell us that as well. We don't want to go back and forth for weeks only to find out that you never thought you could do it to start with.
And that actually folds in nicely to my second and final one, and that's practice, practice, practice. And be yourself throughout that. You want to show an authentic you, aligned to perhaps some of the values of the company that you're working for. If the brand is fun, maybe present something a little bit more fun. If the brand is a bit more serious, maybe be calm and relaxed. But practice your pitch. Practice in front of friends, practice in front of teammates, in family. I practice in front of a mirror sometimes, so don't be afraid to do that. But we want to see who you are, because if you win the pitch, you're going to continue this relationship with us. And it's important that you fit into our culture and our company, as well as understanding the brand and the information.
And finally, know your audience and keep them engaged. I once worked on a pitch where we were the final agency to pitch on a Friday afternoon to a group of head clients who had flown in from overseas the night before and were going to be very, very tired. Rather than going down the route of death by PowerPoint and doing something that we were actually really, really strong at the time, we printed off giant boards and had them standing throughout the presentation, had them engage with videos and engage with the pitch itself, and it reaped its rewards. We ended up winning that, so that's a little tip as well.
So my top tip for any pitch that you're crafting or delivering is to keep in mind the audience that you're presenting to. And it sounds really simple, but it's something in my experience that is often overlooked or not paid enough attention to. Often a CMO needs to translate or convey an idea back to a CFO or a CEO or a creative team. So is the story that you've presented compelling enough and concise enough for them to be able to deliver that concept back to their stakeholders in a confident and impactful way? The other part of the understanding the audience is understanding, what is the context in which they're receiving the information I'm presenting. Sure, I've got a great product that has many, many benefits and my idea is amazing, and there's many benefits to that as well. But how can you drive relevancy and meaning among the audience to make sure that it's contextually relevant to them, and not just you kind of presenting this great idea that you've had. So that's really important to me. My biggest pet peeve with any presentation is when the wrong logo has been used in the deck. Many times I'm sitting in a meeting or a presentation and the logo that's being used is 10 years old. The internet is expansive and has a lot of information on it. If you can't find the right logo on the internet or the company's website, just reach out to the person you're presenting to. Trust me, it will make a big difference. Often the CMO is responsible for the brand and how it's represented. So, you want to instill confidence in the person that you're presenting to, that you understand the pressures that are on them and you are a person or a company that can be trusted to kind of support them in that journey. The other top tip I would say is, if you can, try to control the environment in which you're presenting. So my favorite pitches are always agency pitches. They're real showstoppers when it comes to presenting a pitch. And for me, it's about, if you can control the environment that you're pitching, it's another opportunity to enhance the story that you're telling. Things as small as understanding and being familiar with the technology you're using to present will go a long way in making sure that you don't get halfway through a presentation and everything kind of fizzles out and you don't know how to deal with it. That can kind of break the momentum of the story that you're telling. Things as small as, how the room is dressed or how the presentation begins. All of these things can help you really to enhance the story that you're telling. So where possible, really try to control the environment in which you're presenting. In terms of length and style and format, I like presentations to be concise, creative, and I love a good story. So for me, if you can present and kind of pack up your idea or your concept in a way that's, in a compelling, is being told in a way that's a compelling story, or, you're taking me on a journey. I want to go on a journey when it comes to, receiving a presentation. So think about the story arc in which you're presenting. Again, it sounds really simple, but it's something that is often overlooked. And even if you're presenting off a PowerPoint, if you're telling a great story, that can really go a long way in immersing and engaging the audience.